We've met before, so we don't have anybody to impress. All right, everybody, we're live. Welcome back to the old Bobby Dizzle podcast. The link to follow and subscribe to me is in the description and at bobbydizzle.com. Enough about me. We got Jack Connor. Jack is an author of above 20 books we just discussed, epic fantasy, horror, and sci-fi. But most importantly, at least in this conversation, Mr. Connor is an avid UFO researcher and experiencer. He hosts Cosmic Road YouTube channel where he deep dives into UFO subject matter and tries to get the most integrity out of some of these people, some of these charlatans, if you will. And all of these links, of course, are in the description as I'm looking at them right now. All right. What's going on, Jack?
Nothing. I just got finished watching Missing 411, the UFO Connection yesterday.
Is that a new one?
Yeah, it's a brand new David Paulides, documentary. I've never seen one of his docs before. I've only seen his interviews and watched his show a lot. But I've never seen one of his movies before. So, but yeah, so I watched that, and then I was so impressed by that. I watched, I think it was the one that he did before that, The Hunters. So I guess I've got Missing 411 on my brain today.
Yeah, The Hunted's my favorite.
The Hunted?
The first one kind of makes me sad because there's children in it. But the second one's kind of cool because I'm kind of used to be a hunter myself, so it's kind of like it because it's relevant.
Yeah.
And boy, it's creepy. Where'd they go? What they do? They stepped off in something.
What's the deal, man? I mean,
that's the creepiest thing.
What the hell? I mean, in the UFO Connection, we get a few possible answers, or suggestive of answers. There's this one guy that gets abducted by the beings, right? Mm-hmm. But they are weird. They're unlike any beings that I've ever encountered in the lore before, in the experiences that I've absorbed. There's this guy with the alien, whatever he is. He had string hair. Where one of his hands should be is nothing. Where the other should be is his cone. Like he doesn't have any hands. He's got one cone-shaped appendage, and he does have an arm, but it's missing anything on the end of it for the other one.
Think they have like an attachment built for it or something,
right? Yeah. So is he like the Bionic Man, and is he going to whip out like a spoon, or something like that, a corkscrew?
Go gadget.
Go gadget, right?
Go gadget anal probe.
That could be what his next implement is.
What is that? It kind of funnels out like T1000. It goes turned into the blade instead. It's just
that would not be good. They probably have that. I mean,
what service is that show on?
It was Amazon. That's where I saw it.
Really?
I mean, I think it's probably available other places. I had to pay.
I'm watching that tonight. I mean, our army base is closed tomorrow because of the weather, so I'm kind of got some time to kill.
Yeah, it was a really good movie. It's weird. The alien that had the cone-shaped hand was hunting elk. Believe it or not.
Ooh, yeah, that may get Paulides on Rogan after all.
Right? Is he a hunter?
Oh yeah, he's the elk's one of his things, one of his shticks.
Okay.
He had this come to Jesus meeting where he's either going to become a vegan or become a hunter to get his own meat. And so he chose hunter, and now all he does is eat elk and high protein stuff.
Okay, I admire that.
Mm-hmm. And do DMT and acid all the time.
Right? I've never done straight DMT. I've done ayahuasca. I've been to a couple of ayahuasca retreats, but I've never. Have you done DMT? Just
I don't even know where you would get it or what it would look like.
I don't know what it looks like either. I know somebody that has it. I could go tomorrow and do it if I wanted to.
I was near marijuana in college a couple of times, but that's close to drugs I've ever gotten. Just marijuana adjacent.
Well, I know a lot of people that say that would be that's a good thing.
Yeah. Sometimes I wish it wasn't. Sometimes I wish I could do it, but with the whole military thing, I can't.
Are you active?
No, I'm a contractor. I've just worked for them since I got out of college.
Okay.
I'm an IT guy. I'm a dork. I do the audio visual stuff and a lot of the networking.
Well, I just look like a dork. I don't have any technical skills.
Play the. I tell you who you remind me of. This is not an insult. Do you remember the old show Fred Penner from Canada back in the 80s?
No.
It's crazy. You look kind of just a white guy with a beard is who Fred Penner was. Played guitar in a children's show in Canada. And so I talked about him last week with a guest I had from Canada. And then I saw your picture today looking around. I was like, this is Fred Penner connection.
Fred Penner. Okay. Yeah. I'll have to look him up.
Old stuff.
I usually get, what is it? Luke Wilson or Harry Potter.
There is some Luke Wilson going on there.
I take Luke Wilson over Harry Potter every day.
Any day.
Yeah. It's a good day when I get called Luke Wilson. It's a bad day when I get called Harry Potter.
It's like you're Two-Face from Seinfeld.
Right.
Bad lighting on the porch. I'm Daniel Radcliffe today.
Yeah, that's about right. That's about right.
So I was going through videos today, and I saw the skinning through the Corey Good and the some of the blind frog stuff. And last night I had a guest talking about Skinwalker, from Utah, and she was debunking it. And I've never heard anybody on this podcast debunk anything. And I was kind of like this. And then I got on your channel. I saw you talking about Corey Good. And I'm like, oh, here we go. And blind frog. What is it about Corey Good that people believed are good?
Is that how you say it? Is good? I had always heard good.
It's probably good. But there was a football player for Alabama with the same spelling. His name was Good.
Okay.
You called him Good on there. Yeah, but anyway, his duck.
I've always heard it good, but good
is
probably
good.
To say. I like that.
It's probably good.
I'm going to call him Good because that's what I've always said. But Corey Good has been around for a few years, and he has made a big impression and has a big following. Mm-hmm. I have never been a follower of his. He has just never hit the right chord with me. I guess my BS detector kind of went off when I watched him. And I'm glad that I have a good BS detector, at least in that case. Not in every case, but in that case, I have a good BS detector. He's one of these guys that supposedly went into the secret space program, and he's been having adventures on other planets and with various alien races. And he was doing that for a period of 20 years, and he came back and they reinstalled him in his body as it was when they took him. So there's no proof because he's in his original body and he hasn't aged a second, and he has 20 years worth of memories of having these grand adventures and having all this knowledge that he's been making a career on however long it's been. And he's made a good career. He's made some good money doing that. And it's all been BS.
I had only seen the cliff notes of him until just yesterday with his Howard the Duck alien and blue Howard the Duck.
Oh, yeah, the blue ducks. Yeah.
Come on. But his testimony was, it's 20 on, 20 off. What was he called it?
Yeah. 20
back.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said trademark. I'm like, all right, buddy.
Right.
That's trademarking your abduction story.
We could get sued for saying that. Yeah.
Trademark.
Not 20 back. We were misspeaking. It's 20 and
it's 5 times 4 and back.
5. That's right.
That's what we were saying.
Yeah. So he was like, you can't use any of my IP guys, and because there have been other guys that have tried to make careers off of building on his original story. I was in the secret space fleet too, and I saw this and this and this, and there were the blue avians, and there was this and this and this, and so apparently all those guys are frauds as well. So in a way, it's a good thing that this happened, exposing the rot in the community, and this BS. I think that it has probably hit a lot of people very hard that really put a lot of stock in Corey. My heart goes out to those guys. It's easy to get hooked into something, and to fall for something, and then to find out that you've been hoodwinked. So I do sympathize a lot with those guys.
He could be just a master of marketing. I mean, he comes up with all this, gets a following, creates a scandal, and now he's got this IP that he can sell as like the Coreyverse.
Yeah,
and it's definitely going to get sold. People are going to buy it.
That's what he should have done. Instead of suing these guys for stealing his IP, he should have just made it a franchise.
That's what's coming anyway, if he doesn't lose it all in this Gaia case.
He might lose it all. Well, now that this deposition is out there, and it's I've only listened to an hour of it, but there's like at least 4 or more hours of it, maybe even 8 hours. Anyway, it's very long, and he basically just lays it all out there. How it was all, if there was any reality to it, he experienced it in a meditative dream state, where he went out of body and had these experiences. If there was any reality at all to it, and there may not have been any reality at all to it.
I think that particular scenario where he says he dreamt it and made it up, and now he has this incredible IP that he can own. I think that's probably what a lot of the UFO people are doing.
Yeah,
it's some of it's painfully obvious.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way you saw Howard we talked last night about the giant whites or tall whites out there at range 57.
I think the jury's still out on the tall whites.
Yeah, I mean that's still out, but like it's the same. It has the same ring to it.
Well, it does and it doesn't, because the guy is it Charles Hall? Am I remembering that right? Who's the?
I think it's Hall. It's Hall or Hill. Can't be Hill. It's got to be Hall, because there's Barney Hill.
Yeah, I want to see I want to see him meet some aliens. That would be hilarious. But the tall whites might actually be real, but there are so few cases of them, and there are a few cases of people encountering them that are from fairly credible people, including I think Charles Hall or whatever his name is. Who is the guy that encountered them at Area 51?
Mm-hmm. Range 57.
Range 57 is that well, the
they had
location?
He was at the base, wherever it is. I don't know if Area 51, but the one that started it all was called the horse, the ghost horse of Range 57.
Okay, I don't know the ghost horse. What's that?
It's one of the tall whites that was on the range. And it was such a weird looking animal that he took this almost like a ghost horse, and they called it the ghost horse in Range 57. And he just happened to meet up with him one night when his vehicle broke down out on the range.
Okay, that's not what I'm thinking of. That's a different. I'm thinking of a guy. I want to say his name is Charles Hall, and he was doing like weather reports or something. He was monitoring weather stations or something like that at Area 51, and he was aware that. This is the story that the military there was having interactions with essentially a colony of beings that there were the tall whites that were there at Area 51 living there in a colony set apart from the human soldiers. And over the course of doing these, his job with the weather stations, and I'm probably missaying that, but he had occasion to go out to their area, and he started having experiences with them. And they're an interesting group of people or beings. So
that's him.
So that may be a different case than the ghost horse. I don't know if those two are related or not.
It's the same guy.
Same guy. Okay.
Am I dreaming the ghost horse? Yeah, it's that tall whites. Over here typing like it matters.
I've never heard of the ghost horse. I don't know that story.
It was in his what was it? The tall whites of Walking with Tall Whites.
Yeah.
He was talking about that was like his first encounter. Then he encountered the rest of them, and they had a. I'm not looking at your video. Then they had the little gun finger. Something. They had like a little weapon. It was like a wand almost.
Yeah.
Where did I read this? Am I reading creepypastas and thinking they're real again?
No, I haven't read his book. I've just seen interviews with him.
I read like a whole thing about it. If you've read
the book, you have more information than I do. So tell me all about the ghost horse.
Oh, it was just a big tall white that hung out back there, and he kind of in the distance walked funny or something, and the actual people on the range didn't know they were tall whites, and he encountered him and turned out to be that's what he was. He was just a giant white Nordic guy looking like Thor, alien.
Okay, we're thinking of different things because the tall whites are a distinct race. They're not the Nordics. They're not human looking. They're humanoid. but they're taller than humans, and they have chalk white skin and long stringy hair. But they're not human. They don't look human.
If it is a different one, I kind of want to know now. I'll have to look into that later. I might be mixing them up in my brain too.
Well, there's a lot of information out there, and it's hard. It's easy to get mixed up.
The one thing I do remember is they had like a weapon that was either in their finger or like a wand, and they could like incapacitate you.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. They all these beings seem to have devices that can incapacitate you, either a device or they can do it with their mind. But
Marvin the Martian had the disintegrator.
Right. Yeah. 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 But, if the tall whites are real, that's very intriguing, because when I imagine Area 51, I think of, the DUMBs, the deep underground military bases.
Mm-hmm.
And if the DUMBs are real, then it makes sense that there would be a DUMB at Area 51. And according to the lore on DUMBs, that's where, the beings live. The beings live and, under the earth, and different levels will have different beings and different atmospheres, that different beings can live in. And, the humans interact with them in these various levels. So if the tall whites are real, then and if there is a DUMB at Area 51, a deep underground military base at Area 51,
Mm-hmm.
that means the tall whites are set aside from the rest of the beings living in that deep underground military base. Like, they don't get along with the other aliens, so they had to go live above ground in some colony. If that's real.
They live somewhere across town.
They live across town. They're the bad neighbors.
Deep underground military base.
Yeah, you know what that is, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I've just never heard them called DUMBs before.
Oh yeah.
I've heard that it goes very deep down into the ground.
Which makes sense. They go really deep. They're all connected with these high-speed trains or whatever that go underground. A vast network spanning all of America and beyond, and intimately connected with the secret space fleet. Not Corey Good's secret space fleet, but a secret space fleet. And the ships come and go from these deep underground bases, and there's beings there that live in these vast settlements underground and working with the military and the control group. That's the story of the deep underground military bases.
That would fit right in with the Tic Tacs and stuff.
It could be.
Mm-hmm.
Totally could be.
Could fit right in with the definitely fit right in with the stuff we didn't know about, but it's be ours, but we didn't know we had it.
Yeah. I'm sure there's a lot we have. There's there seems to be different factions. There's the alien reproduction vehicle group, right?
Mm-hmm.
That seems to be, my impression is they're divorced from the control group, the Area 51 guys. They're having to reproduce vehicles. They're not being given vehicles by the beings. They're not. It's not the secret space fleet.
It's like the crash sites and the archaeological dig finds.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So and maybe the secret space fleet is all BS. Maybe there are no deep underground military bases. Maybe all we have are the alien reproduction vehicles, or alternately, some people who have found, Roswell crashes and, have done the crash retrievals and have tinkered with this stuff and gotten it to work somewhat. But there could be three different groups. So there could be the alien reproduction vehicle guys, and then there could be the guys reverse engineering the alien technology. And then there could be another group that is actually working with the beings.
Now, what do you think the Nazis had? Which group do you think they were?
There's so many,
if not all three.
There are so many differing stories about the Nazis. They had something. Maybe they still have something. Maybe they're on the moon having something. I don't know.
Iron Sky. That was such a good movie.
Yeah.
God, the second one's kind of dumb.
Yeah.
First
you
one.
You need a lot of beer for those movies.
The one-off sci-fis like that are kind of my favorite things, especially if it's like a concept like that. Like it's entirely possible they're on the dark side of the moon. Nobody knows Earth exists, and when they go back, nobody ever comes back. like where are you going?
Well, I did a video, a couple weeks ago about a base on the backside of the moon, and it had nothing to do with the Nazis. It was an IT guy, I want to say. It was a couple weeks ago, and he was, but he's like an IT guy with the Air Force or whatever, and if or maybe he's a camera specialist. Anyway, so a couple decades ago, maybe a bit even back in the 70s. He had occasion to work with NASA, and they took him in, and he was working with the technician doing technical stuff, probably having to do with cameras or something. And the technician says he's all freaked out, and all of the technicians are freaked out. And the technician says, "There's a base on the moon. Here's the pictures or whatever." And the guy that's telling the story, he didn't want to know any details. He says, if I'm going to get offed if they tell me any more. So he didn't ask for any details, and he just, kept on doing his job. But he's a very credible guy. He's not involved in any of this stuff. He's not Hal Pudolph or somebody that's been in the business in the UFO game for a long time. He's completely outside of that, except for being an Air Force guy. And but he's a very credible guy, and he says that NASA was aware of an alien base. I'm assuming it was an alien base. It could have been the Nazis. I don't know.
Yeah.
Russians. Could be Bigfoot. Could be Bigfoot. It's all always got to have the possibility of Bigfoot on the moon. But somebody was on the moon, and NASA knew about it in the 70s.
I've heard that story before. What you're talking about?
Yeah, well, there have been multiple people that have said that over the years. Some of them are more credible than others. A lot of that information comes from like remote viewers. And I love remote viewing. I place a lot of value on remote viewing. But when it comes to solid information that you can verify, it's difficult with remote viewing if it's in a location like the moon or Mars where you can't verify that. Now, theoretically, NASA could send out a probe to the backside of the moon and verify something that a remote viewer said. But if they have been covering this up below these many years, why would they do that? Same with Mars. We're going to need Elon to get to Mars and to give us some reliable information.
Yeah, and the fact that we're going back to the moon now.
What was that?
The fact we're going back to the moon now is kind of strange. Like I love the space program, being from where I am. But it was always weird. They stopped it in the 70s for public opinion. Yeah, but I think it was because of the helium-3.
What's helium-3?
It's an element on the moon that it's found here, but it's in real, not very big deposits. But one crater can power a U.S. city for 10,000 years.
Whoa!
And this is real. This is loosely the plot of that movie Show for All Mankind on Apple.
I haven't seen it.
Well, yeah, it's an awesome show. Lots of random wokeness no one asked for. But that's neither here nor there. It's about the moon landing, and Russians got there first. Spoiler alert for the first 5 minutes of the show. But it's like an alternate history show. But helium-3 was a big thing. Like they found it on the moon. It's there on the moon. And just recently, China said they're going to go get it, and all of a sudden now we're back in the moon game. I think Big Oil and Nixon kind of squished the program because of it. But now that China's going back, we're like, well, they're going to have this huge advantage if we don't go get it. So fuck you, Big Oil. We're going to go get it.
Okay. Well, I can't wait for that. Bring it on.
Yeah, that's a real thing, and it's free. 10,000 years.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and you what's the word? You do it. My word I'm thinking of is fusion it. Like nuclear. That's not a verb. Fusion it. But you have to do the reaction kind of like nuclear reaction. But it's not radioactive or anything.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Well, I hope that happens. I mean, bring it on.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Well, that would be world changing. Of course, that'd be so world changing that I can see the big oil guys fretting about it right now.
Yeah, I think that's why they quit the moon landing when that got discovered.
That
Like
makes perfect
the
sense.
timeline checks out. Like everybody else, like I think you've even said that maybe not have been you. That sounds too woo woo to be you, but I don't know.
I'm
Said
pretty
that they
woo-woo.
yeah. Well, that's what we all like about the subject matter. But that the Greys told them to stop going.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember who I've heard that from. I may have heard it from you. But
I
my
say a lot
theory
of
is
things and then I forget them 5 minutes later. So
my
yeah,
theory is that I know who I definitely heard it from. I just don't know if I 100% heard it from you though. But I know the H3 thing seems just like too convenient. The timelines overlap like two circles.
man, what a game changer that would be if that actually works out. Of course, like the big oil guys are probably jockeying for control of that material right now. Oh well, we're the energy guys. It should stay with us.
Energy, yeah, we're the big energies who we are.
We got the infrastructure. You better give us the material.
Or somebody's just in a factory right now, just making nooses for all the scientists for H3.
Right.
Just like a stockpile of nooses.
Right.
They didn't. H3 scientists didn't kill themselves.
Right now, the big oil guys are going out getting dirt on all the scientists and all the NASA guys.
And if you don't
give us that H3, this is going public.
You ever heard of the comedian Bill Burr? He says that we should just give the oil people the sun and let them sell us solar, just so we can get off the oil. Just give them the sun so we can buy solar for cheap. It won't be anything.
Right.
Hey, but on that same token, you did a video about JFK 2 days ago. I want to talk about that, the recently released documents. Speaking of Nixon and the weird politics of that day. Like, what was that MJ-12 that you were saying that may have been released, the secrets, the deep state?
Yeah, there were references to MJ-12, and JFK was asking for a summary of their activity. And it's very interesting in the memo where he requests that he doesn't give any information. There's very little information in any of the exchanges. They refer to it as Cold War psychological warfare kind of stuff. Which could be a euphemism. That could just be how they needed to phrase it, to get the classifications they needed without letting people know what it was. But it's highly, highly interesting that we have MJ-12 confirmed via these JFK, this dump. Because was it real? Was it not? That's been around for a long time. If the documents were real, were they fabricated by the FBI? Because those are the two possibilities, right? There was it's either legitimate or it's a legitimate piece of disinfo, because it came from the FBI. So they came from the government, and I think they've even identified like the typewriter it was written on, and yeah. So either So yeah, what's your take on MJ-12? Are you a believer in MJ-12?
I just heard of it 28 minutes ago and 33
okay,
seconds.
Okay, all right. Well, that's been all right. So that's been a thing for a while, right? The MJ-12 stuff, and there's the whole Bill Moore situation and the Stanford.
I probably heard about some of the bullet points of it, just didn't know that's what I was hearing.
Yeah, it's complicated and murky, and there's some weird stuff involving the government. Pushing well, anyway, I don't want to get into the Bill Moore story, who was a very good ufologist until he's turned dark and started working for the government, and that will forever taint his legacy. But one of the things that he came out with during this time was the MJ-12 documents. So is that government disinfo? Are those real? Is it some lies and some truth mixed together? So, we don't know. We don't know. There's some people that have some very firm opinions that MJ-12 is absolutely real. And some people think it's absolutely bogus and disinfo.
And the fact that it came out of the Kennedy thing really just kind of almost galvanizes it.
Right. Well, yeah. So the original documents came out decades ago. And so the stuff that just came out with the Kennedy documents actually confirms that MJ12 was a real group and that it was very secretive, and that some of the people associated with it were very, very powerful. And there are theories that some of those guys were connected to Kennedy's death.
Oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. That's what I'm thinking. Like anything that Kennedy was asking for, if it comes out, that's like, it means they had that much more credibility to me.
Right.
Actually being in existence.
But there weren't any details about what MJ12 was in that dump. So it would have been nice to have some confirmation that it was UFO related. But there wasn't, unfortunately. But it is real, and it was highly secretive, and some top guys were on it. And Kennedy wanted to know what was going on with it.
Yeah, Kennedy got to see that Bill Hicks tape before it was made.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Kennedy was the original Bill Hicks tape. That's my favorite comedy bit. Just about like he take him in the back room, show you that other angle of the Kennedy assassination.
Yeah, and get handed. It's been a while since I've seen that bit. I know. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, he says the president gets taken back there, and they have these big plans during the campaign. They get the first day in the White House, they get shown the other angle of the Kennedy assassination, and they get handed their agenda. Here's your agenda now. And that's why none of the presidents ever do what they say they're going to do, because they're just shills anyway.
Right.
They do like a couple little executive orders and mess a couple things up and make us stir, but nothing really impactful.
Yeah, no, that's been a running question forever. What do the presidents know? Grant Cameron, if you know who that is, has done a deep dive on that. Do you know Grant Cameron?
No, the name sounds familiar, but I don't know anything specifically about him.
Well, he's a really credible, highly respected ufologist. He's been in the game for a long time. In the last 10 years, he's gotten into the consciousness aspect of UFOs. But he kind of made his bones investigating the presidents and what they were briefed on and what they've been told. And he's done a whole deep dive on what we know that the presidents have been told. So, you can go to his channel. I don't want to shill for somebody else's channel on your show. But yeah, Grant Cameron is a really good guy to go to for that information. But I am not satisfied with, what he's, those answers. We still don't know. In my estimation, I don't think they know very much.
No, I don't think it's like we were discussing earlier with the military. A lot of need to know. Need to know is a big thing.
Yeah,
and presidents don't really need to know. They probably get given like an outline of what it is.
Yeah,
I think maybe just a little bit more than we were given in those Pentagon tapes and files.
Right. Well, if Admiral Wilson didn't need to know, then do the presidents? Yeah.
I know that the admirals know about the presence of whatever it is. Maybe they don't know what it is.
Well, Admiral Wilson and the Admiral Wilson leak, right?
Yeah, I've heard a lot about that particular end of it.
Okay. Well, Admiral Tom Wilson was a bigwig, one of the top guys in the military, in the Pentagon, and I forget his exact. Okay, I'm gonna have to Google it. Are you Googling it?
I'm just like I'm doing what I call follow along at home.
Yeah, Admiral Wilson. Yeah. I want to get his title right.
Vice Admiral Thomas Wilson.
He was the director of the Defense Intelligence Agency,
the DIA.
The DIA. So bigwig, a very powerful guy.
Yeah,
very powerful guy, and he wanted, he got wind of the government's involvement with UFOs. And he knew something was going on, so he wanted to get in on it. He says, "Dudes, I'm the director of the DIA. Let me the hell in. You can't keep this from me. I have a right to know. I have a need to know. I want to be part of this conversation." And they shut him out, and they shut him out. Finally, he kept on pushing, and they set him down, and they said, you know what? We were actually audited a few years ago. The IRS audited the control group, or some one of these programs, and which is hilarious. So, and they actually showed the auditor around, and actually showed them some UFOs and some
Really?
crash retrievals, and they would not do that for Tom, but they did sit him down and they said, "Yeah, we've got some crashes. We'll tell you we've got some crashes. There's no alien abductions. We're not working with any aliens. None of that is real, but we've got some crashes and we haven't been able to get anything to work. Maybe there's like one ship that kind of works a little bit, and that's all that's going on. Nothing to see here. You don't need to be part of this, even though you're the director of the DIA. Go about your business." And he says no. He refused to go about his business, so they threatened his career. And whatever party in the government is doing this, they had the juice to threaten the career of the director of national, the DIA, the director of the DIA. And he did. He backed off after they threatened his career. They threatened his pension. So, whoever, so if the director, so if he could not get access to this stuff, could the president, or if he did, I think it's likely they would feed him the same line that we've got some craft. Yeah, we've been tinkering with some stuff that we found, and this stuff is very complicated, and we've got a couple little things working, but we don't understand it.
We got the radio to come on.
Yeah, we got the radio to come in. We're surfing the stations. We got some alien porn on the channel. That's about all that we got working. So I think that is about all they would be willing to tell the president if they told him anything.
I have seen people trying to tell higher level officials, higher level government people, like bad news about something just kind of minuscule and get chewed out. I can't imagine being the guy that has to tell the president he can't know about something under his.
Right.
That's got to be crazy. That guy's got to get crucified, or maybe it's just somebody so dug in and essential to the black project that president can't touch him anyway.
Well,
or he gets like a package to read.
If they could threaten Tom Wilson, maybe they could threaten the president.
No doubt. I mean, I don't think the president's beyond reproach by some members of the government.
Oh, definitely not. And there's some presidents that definitely have more to hide than others.
Yeah, especially since he's essentially like a drone or a puppet up there. Like, you don't need to do this. What are you doing? Shouldn't you be worrying about kissing babies or something? Doing a national park staircase or something? Putting your name on the library?
But I think whoever's in control of this, it's not the president.
No.
It's Richard Dolan calls it the breakaway civilization. And I think he's right. I think it's completely broken away. It's divorced from the mainstream government. According to some, it's actually multinational. Like Lance Corporal Wygant that I did a piece on a few weeks ago, who saw, was it in Brazil, that there was a crash retrieval of a UFO, I want to say in Brazil, and correct me if I'm wrong. And he believes that we shot that ship down. And he and his Marines went out there to secure the site, not knowing what it was. And then it was taken over by the Air Force. He actually interacted with one of the beings that was in the ship. And so they arrested him because he wasn't supposed to go into the ship. The Air Force arrested him. And when he was taken back to the base, the U.S. base in Brazil, if I'm getting the country right, he saw that it was actually a multinational organization. There were people from China there. I thought they were not our allies, but apparently maybe some of that is theater. And we are actually at least working with them on this project.
I have a light hypothesis about that. And it kind of goes back to the paperclip thing we were talking about earlier. That the Nazis probably, we brought over the Nazis, Werner von Braun. That's basically the reason I have a job is because of that dude right now where I'm at. And they probably brought over some whatever alleged extraterrestrial / beyond the veil technology they had. It could have been working with aliens back then. But since then we haven't had any wars like of any substance. We've had the little skirmishes and the oil wars and the the back and forth. But I think we probably are like somewhere higher up working all together, some one world organization with the extraterrestrials as the backbone of it.
Well, I definitely think
Yeah.
we're working with the beings. That's where my
Yeah.
research has led me.
Maybe not the backbone, maybe just a part of it.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think that, I think that there is a very clear scenario. I don't know which scenario is right, but there is a very clear scenario that if it started in World War II with the Germans and migrated to us with Operation Paperclip, and we came into contact with whatever they were in contact with, then we progressed that relationship from there. And that led to the deep underground military bases and the secret space fleet and the breakaway civilization. That timeline checks out. I mean, that makes sense.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
And there's also like a tie in to the reason that we kind of operate at a lower frequency lately in the last 150 years. And I don't know where you're at on the Tatarian Empire and Tesla and the World's Fairs and how all those rope in.
I know Tartary and the mud floods.
Yeah, they had the free energy back then. Everybody was a little bit more sensitive to the other side. Like people knew about giants. I don't know what I'm just hearing about giants recently that Abraham Lincoln knew about giants. But now all of a sudden, circa 1910, I'm just throwing that number out there. All of a sudden, we're secular. Nothing's out of this world, for lack of a better term, and we basically start going toward this nuclear family we are now, where everything is consumerism, and you get what I'm saying. That's when it all started. We started getting lower vibrations, no higher end, kind of becoming a post-Christian society.
Well, that's about the date that my research has led me to, where the crackdown, the suppression really began in the modern era. It's been around for a long time, the suppression to, the mystical forces and, our innate connection to spirit. I think that has been suppressed for a long time. But in the modern era, our suppression to things, just basic knowledge, like, the aliens are here and there's giants and stuff like that, began around 1910-ish.
Okay, so my mental timeline wasn't all messed up then. It's about
yeah,
right.
Yeah,
then.
yeah. I think the last reported giant skeleton that was found was either in the late 19-teens or early 1920s, maybe like
weren't there some in the Smithsonian?
There was a very good giant skeleton. I want to say 8 or 9 feet tall that was in the Smithsonian, and then they removed it, and it has vanished. When asked why they removed it, they said, "Oh, it was a hoax." Well, I mean, it's a giant freaking skeleton. It's got clear pictures of it. How is that a hoax?
Why was it a hoax?
Right. And, well, they said, "Oh, it was made out of gelatin." Well, gelatin is a material that people use in exhibits, archaeological, exhibits, paleontological exhibits, to fill in little gaps. In like a missing skeleton, like a bone. If you have a skeleton, if you have a bone missing, you can put a little gelatin in there to fake that gap, to make it a more realistic looking whole skeleton. You cannot do that for an entire body, not a 9 foot tall giant body, and have it be as realistic as it was. That's not believable in any sense. But that was the lie the Smithsonian floated or put out there. That's what they've been saying all these years, was that giant was made out of gelatin.
Called it a giantin.
Yeah, it is the giantin. The giantin.
The giant.
So yeah, in the first UFO crash that was reported in a newspaper, and I wish I had kept this link so badly, but I don't remember where it was. I think it was 1907. It was a small town in New England. When I tell people it was a small town in that era, they think Aurora, which was in 1800s, and that was in I think Texas. It was in the South. But no, this was in New England. It was a small town. They didn't have the word UFO back then, but the newspaper reported the crash of this exotic, weird craft. and they couldn't understand what it was, but it crashed. The next day, they retracted the story.
It's like the very first time.
So, well, okay. Let's break that down just a little bit. All right. So somebody made them retract that story, right? So whoever was controlling this issue for the government, or whoever, the breakaway group, they were ready to go in 1907 to crack down instantly on this issue for somebody to, so they were in operation even back then, but they don't seem to have been suppressing stories, or at least that's the first time I've encountered a retraction of a UFO related story. That's the first earliest case that I can find of that. And then about 10 years later, you have the utter suppression of the giants. And just a couple of years after that, just a few years after that, you had the giant being taken out of the Smithsonian. For a few years after that, there were a couple of newspaper articles here and there, but that petered out and went away around 1920. So the early part of the century, the 1900s, that is when the suppression in the modern era really began, and it's controlled. Somebody is managing this.
Yeah, before that, the government was kind of loosey-goosey. And, well, I guess before that, they were more concerned with wiping out the natives and the Seminoles.
Yeah.
And squashing that history about how they were a lot of Europeans and Moors. And I know the history of the Africans in this continent have been squished a lot, suppressed. They don't want them. They believe all the Africans came from slaves, and a lot of them came from, the Moors coming over here 200 years before we did.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some chatter about that. There's a lot of, like, they just found a Scottish knife in a cave that was 2,000 years old in West Virginia.
Okay, now
Celtic.
Okay, that's a subject that interests me a lot. Is the non-Indian people that were in the Americas before Columbus, because there seems to have been several different groups. Not just the Vikings.
For 10,000 years.
Well,
it's not on another planet.
There's megalithic construction in certain sites. There are the stone chambers of New England, if you know what those are. Have you heard of the stone chambers of New England?
I haven't.
Okay, well they are really fascinating. There's check it out. Google it. Bring up some pictures.
I may have seen them and just don't know what I remember what I said.
Well, they are aptly named. They are these stone chambers that may have been.
Oh, yeah, I've seen those.
They may have been places of burial or worship. We don't know what they were, but they were some sort of sacred area, and they are little chambers made out of stone, very ancient looking, very, what's the word? Primitive? Not primitive. Primeval. I don't know. Well, anyway.
Yeah,
but they utilized megalithic construction, which is not something the natives used. And there's another connected site, which is the Stonehenge of North America, which may have been built by the same people that built the stone chambers of New England.
That's not the Georgia Guidestones, are that's a different thing.
No, not the Georgia Guidestones. This is a old. I think that the earliest date the latest date is in the 1400s. I don't know if we know precisely when it was built, but it wasn't built before the 1400s. And there is some writing on it. The only thing that might identify it is one piece of writing. And it's in Phoenician, which is fascinating. The Phoenicians were a great sea power in the ancient days, and they
were kind of like the Vikings, weren't they? I mean,
well, they were even a greater sea power than the Vikings. They were more like Greece or somebody, that level of civilization, but on the sea. And many people connect them to Atlantis,
That wouldn't be shocking at all. Maybe it
right?
was down in the Gulf of Mexico. They need to put more radar into looking for Atlantis. It's out there somewhere.
It's out there.
It's not fake. Something happened. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it being just maybe somewhere over here in Mexico or something like that that's just buried in the jungle.
They're finding cities in the Amazon right now.
Yeah, that were. I know Robert Beto from Mexico Unexplained won't want to hear it, but wiped out by the smallpox, the first conquistadors. He's not a big germ theory guy, but I'll throw that out there. He's like, "There's no germ theory. They were already dead." I was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa!" Just kidding. I sent that up there a while ago about the Moors. John P. Adventures lives in Portugal, so he's got an extra special place in his heart for the Moors because they took over his country. Did you know that Spain people were very, very white Celtic people until the Moors came along and mixed with them?
Yes. Yeah.
Did
The
not know that.
occupation of Spain. How long was that? Like 400 years? It was a long time.
There's so much stuff they don't teach you in school. And I feel bad that I learn it from people like Sam Tripoli and Eddie Bravo and I have to filter it back through the stuff that really happened.
Yeah, well, that's how the Inquisition started. They were trying to re-Christianize Spain, and after they had successfully re-Christianized it, the Inquisition had a base of power, and they weren't going to give that up, so they started looking for witches, and
Witches.
Yeah. That's how the Inquisition started. Was a response to the occupation of Spain.
Oh yeah, they could really throw anything under witches back then.
Yeah. Yeah, but right now I practice Reiki. I don't practice it. I don't have a practice, but I am a Reiki master. And people, with who did stuff like that would have been burned alive back in the day. And I'm sure that happened. So very sad. And that's one of the suppressions of our connection to source that I was talking about, which is really really too bad.
Now, you always hear about the guys in the in the Bible, just for lack of a better example, like they could talk back and forth to the spirit world. Happened all the time. Foot at their bed and a tongue of fire left and right. That hasn't happened ever. And when it does, it's squished down nowadays.
Yeah,
it's got to be the same kind of technology.
Yeah, I think some people in the old days did have a much greater connection.
Mm-hmm. And there wasn't all the fluoride, there wasn't all the plastic, there wasn't the consumerism. I think that's like the trifecta of the low vibration.
Right. Well, we're gonna get it back.
Yeah, I think the muscle's building back.
I think so. And the word is spreading, and I think more credible people are having incredible encounters and experiences. And I think that if we are entering something like the fifth dimension or the age of Aquarius or whatever you want to call it, if these various modalities, what I'm talking about, the fourth density, all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah.
That many people think we are entering this new age where we are going to have greater connection to source, into our higher selves and the beings and all the good stuff, and that we have entered into that right now. And I don't know where I was going with that. Do you know where I was going with that?
Yeah, you're saying what, getting it back from the old days.
Yeah, we're going to get it back. Yeah, so hopefully this is the time when we are going to get it back.
I think people are a lot more open now to it than they were 50 years ago.
I think so. And,
they called it hogwash back then.
Yeah. I mean, I've had experiences over the last 3 or so years. I've become an experiencer, and I would have thought all of this was just so silly, 5 or 6 years ago. I can't believe that I believe the things that I do now, and that I've had some of the experiences that I've had now. And if I'm having these, who's been an atheist and a skeptic and a non-believer in UFOs and just believe that we lived in the most boring world possible for all my life. If I can have these experiences, then anybody can.
What was your hallmark of your recent experiences that kind of pushed you over the edge?
Oh, well, I mean, the first one pushed me over the edge. I mean, once I had proof this stuff was real, I was like, damn, changing my world.
What happened with it though? I mean, in that first one.
Well, let's see. I'm not even sure what my first one was. I mean, okay, so it started.
You can do a greatest hits if you want to. I don't care.
Yeah, well, okay, so I started, UFO researching, 5 years ago or whatever. And that led me to the metaphysical stuff because there's this huge metaphysical connection to UFOs. And, 1/3 of all alien abductees are near-death experiencers.
Mm-hmm.
They have died, been to the other side, and come back. 1/3 of all alien abductees fall into that category. And then there's all the Skinwalker Ranch stuff. And
was it before? Sorry, was the near-death experiences before the abduction?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry,
yeah.
I had to clear that up.
No, that's an important question. And so people who have had those experiences often come back with abilities and a greater connection to source.
It's like their veil is thin.
Exactly.
Or not there.
Sometimes their third eye is open. And so those people get abducted more. So the aliens are more interested in people that have a greater spirituality or whatever. So that's highly interesting. So once I got to that point in my research, and I started investigating Skinwalker Ranch, and, the government was studying ghosts at Skinwalker Ranch. I was like, really? Ghosts? There's not ghosts. And if there's ghosts, that implies we have a soul. We don't have souls. I'm an atheist. Get out of here. So I said, but so I started to do investigation into ghosts, and there was more and more proof of ghosts. I did a pretty deep dive into the phenomenon of ghosts. And at one point I was satisfied that ghosts existed. I thought they must be alien technology though, or some sort of artifact of alien technology. But I said, okay, I'm game. I'll see what this is. So I co-founded a ghost hunting group and started doing ghost hunts. And we quickly lucked into this really amazing haunted house. It was a mansion west of Austin, beautiful house, lots of activity. They had security cameras like in every room that captured a lot of stuff. And they were sending us stuff like daily, paranormal stuff caught on camera, shadow beings. I've got multiple videos of shadow beings. And so it was just this incredible haunted house. And so I knew then that, okay, well, this is real. I don't know what it is, but it's real. And so the ghost hunts go on. One of my ghost hunting buddies is a Reiki master. I get my research has shown me that Reiki seems to be a thing. So I get her to do Reiki on me and I feel it. And it was amazing. I was like, crap, Reiki is real? This is so woo. This is so silly. I can't believe this is real.
That had to be crazy just when the first time you felt that particular sensation. Like, this is no way.
Well, I mean, I'm a big Star Wars nerd. And so, and that's what the Reiki energy is. It's the force. So I was able to feel the force. And it was amazing, man. It was amazing. And so I knew then, well, I've got to learn this. And so around then I started to have my own experiences. And, it started off small. I had a ghost cat. I had a ghost cat for about 6 months in my house. That was weird.
A ghost cat?
A ghost cat. Yeah.
Laid on your bed. Did it lay on your bed? That's what all the ghost cats do.
It would rub up against my leg. It was so solid that I would reach down to pet it, and there was no cat there. One time it scratched on the back door, and I got up to let it in, and I could see it. Our back door is glass, and I had eyeballs on it the whole time. I was thinking this was probably the ghost cat because none of our cats were out, and none of the neighbor cats would want to come in. That's not wandering cats don't typically scratch at our door. So I had eyes on it the whole time. I get to the doorknob, open the door. In the 1/4 second it's out of my sight when I'm opening the door, it vanishes. So, Anyway, so that was the ghost cat. But then I went on having these experiences. I had various communications with the other side. I had a Kundalini awakening, which was massive. It was just, yeah.
What's
Right where I'm
Kundalini?
sitting.
That's the first I've ever heard that one.
What was that?
Kundalini.
Oh, you've never heard of the Kundalini awakening?
No. Where have I been?
Yeah.
See,
Well,
these last 2 days have been amazing. Kundal.
Yeah. Kundalini.
Okay. And Reiki is Reiki.
Yeah.
Okay. I got some research going on.
Yeah,
here.
I told you I'm all woo woo now. I'm all woo woo because
see, yesterday my guest debunked Skinwalker Ranch, and today we're in the Reiki. So I'm having these weird dreams lately after doing all these shows.
Who did you have on your show yesterday?
It was Erica Lukes. She's a Skinwalker Ranch, kind of a whistleblower. She was a really good guest. I want to have her back.
Interesting.
She's does a lot of the research, real deep research into it. She kind of thinks they're trying to make money off the TV show.
Oh, they're not. They're not. And Brandon Fugel's he doesn't need the money, and he's not making it.
Yeah, no, he definitely doesn't need it.
Yeah. So,
but there's could be. I would just have to go back and look through it. She's got a couple good points. I was like,
and Bob Bigelow was a billionaire. He did not need. No, it's not for the money. I'm not convinced of that. I'll have to watch her show though to see what her points are.
Yeah, it was the one I did yesterday, episode 43. It's real convincing. Like you can tell where she was coming from.
Well, I talk to Chris Bartell sometimes. He watches my channel, and he's not a big believer in all of that stuff. And he's been on Skinwalker Ranch and Blind Frog Ranch a lot. He believes in the Indian, the native spirituality aspect, but he doesn't seem to believe in a lot of the other stuff. So I find that very interesting.
I just wish they wouldn't go so Zach Bacon out there.
Oh yeah, Zach. Yeah.
I wish they wouldn't go so. I wish they wouldn't go that. They seem like it. And Travis Taylor lives just like 20 miles from me.
Does he really?
And I work with some of his coworkers. Like we're adjacent to each other. I say that I'm kind of putting myself, but I'm kind of churching up myself in that regard. But yeah, we work really close to each other, and we live close to each other.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean,
I hope you're able to get an invite out to the ranch sometime, or work with him in some other capacity.
I don't know. He used to have a show called Rocket City Rednecks.
Okay.
About 10 years ago, and I had one of his characters on that show about to be on this podcast, and they ghosted me. I don't know whatever happened.
Oh man.
I kind of say it just wasn't in the cards. I'll hold off. I'll get bigger. They don't. I seem creepy right now, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Because I had like 3 followers then.
Well, we're growing. We are going to get there, man. We are going to get there.
Yeah, one of these days. I was talking to Wild Trees earlier. I'm analyzing everybody who I look up to, like Long Island Bigfoot, and there's a couple other guys, D.A. Roberts, that have kind of the channel size I'm trying to get to, like my next like my next step, like 10, 15, 20, 30,000. Seeing what they do, putting in those little adjustments.
I like it.
I'll send you a portfolio if I ever come up with something.
Okay. Good.
Kevin said wanted to see me at the ranch. All right, awesome. It's been a fun hour. I will let you go. I kind of want to. You told me about that missing 411. I kind of want to go watch it.
Yeah,
now.
well, you were talking about Bigfoot. I was watching the missing 411, the hunted, and the hunters, and there's a Bigfoot. They never actually use the word Bigfoot, but it's clearly
don't
Bigfoot.
Say it. Don't you say it.
No, don't say it. Don't say it.
My final point on that is
non-human anthropoid.
Yeah, the non-human bipedal. They always say there's no known cases of Bigfoot hurting a person. Well, then you got this whole show called Missing 411. I'm like, is that
right?
Maybe one got a little rogue, and a new bear has entered the camp, as the grizzly man said.
Yeah, it could be Bigfoot doing that.
If that fails,
it could be someone else. We've got on the UFO connection, the one that I watched yesterday. We have this weird cone-handed being that was hunting elk, and it abducted this guy, and it said it would have kept him if he hadn't had a vasectomy, or at least that was his impression. So they wanted him for some sort of hybrid program, presumably. But it's unlike any alien that I've ever run across in the lore. So
was that on your show or was it on the Missing 411?
No. I'm doing a review on it tomorrow morning, but no, that's the Missing 411, the UFO connection.
Okay, because I thought that's what you said earlier. I'm like, wait, I was really interested in that one.
Yeah. So there's this weird cone-handed guy, and he's hunting elk in his spaceship, as you do, and
like Ted Nugent,
right? And he abducts this guy, and he returns the guy kind of in a haphazard fashion. He just kind of drops him out of the UFO, and he sends a telepathic message to his wife to go and look for him. And by the time she and the sheriff get to the poor guy, he's out of his mind and he's raving, and they're actually afraid they're going to have to shoot him because he's so crazy. But he gets better. So, I don't know why, if this alien was going to go through the trouble of putting a telepathic prompt in his wife's mind, why it couldn't just drop him off at their place. But, when I meet the alien, I'll ask. I'm not inviting that to happen. I don't even like elk meat.
You would if you tried it.
I've actually had elk. I like elk.
It's the perfect protein.
I've had elk. I've had chili.
It's delicious.
Elk chili is delicious.
How dare you?
That's right. No, my mom's neighbor had game animals, and he would give us elk all the time, and it was actually okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for having me on.
It's been amazing. I don't want this to be the last time. And if you'd ever need a guest one day at a slow news day, I'm off most days, so off most evenings.
Let's do it.
All right. Take it easy. Thanks everybody for watching.
All right. Later.
Peace.
Thanks, Dad.
See you, Jack.